Welcome back into the lunch break here on KDUS AM 1060. 17 days away to the NFL draft. And I don't think we are any closer to knowing what the Cardinals may or may not do on night one with the 16th overall pick. I don't know if we're any closer to finding out if they want to stay in that spot or trade out of that spot, what positions they might prioritize. I don't think we are any closer to figuring out the way this draft board is going to crystallize, because I thought it was settled. I've been on record saying that in some order, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter are going 1 through 4. The draft really starts at 5. I have been on record saying that that's how I think this is going to go. Yet, there's just report after report, mock draft after mock draft, where the winds are blowing in a different direction. I saw a mock draft today on The Athletic that had Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to the 21st pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I saw a report today that Jalen Milroe, the Alabama quarterback, accepted his invite to go to Green Bay to be in the green room on draft night. I did not know we were discussing Jalen Milroe as a potential first-round quarterback, but that's the only reason why you get that invite, is because there's a chance your name's going to be called. And the NFL, because we live in a new age where social media runs wild and these things are immortalized, they've tried to do a better job of making sure that the players that they invite, that they send these invitations to for draft night, are pretty much guaranteed to get drafted. They don't need another Geno Smith situation on their hands. Yet Jalen Milroe got an invite. So I got Shedeur Sanders being mocked all over the place. I still don't know if Jackson Dart is a first-round quarterback. And now I've got Jalen Milroe getting an invite to the draft. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Well, I want to touch on two things. I think the Milroe invite means it's so good for Dart that he's moving up the board. To me, that means Dart's going to be a definite first-round quarterback, and that means that Milroe has the opportunity to go late in the first round if somebody trades back into 32 just for the option of the 5th year. That is the only reason you would take him in the 5th round. I also want to touch on, this guy's a weapon. This guy's a complete weapon.
You said this in the morning meeting, that you are all in on Jalen Milroe, and the comp that you gave was that you think he can be like Taysom Hill. And my response to you in the morning meeting was, you don't take Taysom Hill types in the first round. But I understand the point that you are trying to make. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is I can't begin to figure out who might be on the board for the Cardinals at 16 until I know how the quarterbacks are going to shake out. Because if Shedeur Sanders starts to slide, that is a bad thing for the Cardinals, I think. I think it's going to mean there's a run on players. The Cardinals, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they're not in the quarterback market. They're not taking Shedeur Sanders at 16 if he gets there. But if Shedeur passes the Raiders at 6, if he passes the Giants at 3, if he passes the Jets at 7, the Saints at 9, all of these teams are directly in front of the Cardinals. They are spots where other players might go that shrink the board further and further for the Cardinals.
Yeah, last week we talked about the opportunity or the thought of 3 quarterbacks going before the Cardinals and how that could mean that another guy gets to them at 16, what player could get there, what player could fall. All of that is out the window if there's only one quarterback in front of them.
If one quarterback goes between the Tennessee Titans at number 1 all the way to the Cardinals at 16, it changes the landscape a lot. It changes who is going to be available a lot. Now, where this can become a positive is if there is a team. Now, I haven't done this math recently. I haven't looked. I'll pull up the draft order now so I can see this. But there may be a team picking in the 20s that like Shedeur Sanders, but didn't think it was possible to land Shedeur Sanders. Pittsburgh at 21.
I was going to say, how about the mock this morning? Pittsburgh, why wouldn't they move up to 16 if they thought that was their chance to go get their guy?
Could they move up? Could Seattle at 18 want to move up a couple of spots? I know they signed Sam Darnold, but maybe they're thinking about the long term. They could be a potential landing spot. That's really it, though. Outside, Tampa's got their guy. Denver's got their guy. Pittsburgh's got their guy. You worry about the teams directly in front of the Cardinals. Indianapolis, Atlanta, perhaps Miami, 13, 14, 15. They might be interested. But there is a world where if Shedeur gets out of the top 10, he may slide all the way to the back part of the first round, which again confuses me why Jalen Milroe is getting an invite. Because if a team is going to trade back in to the back half of the first round to take a quarterback, my guess is it would be for a Shedeur Sanders who slides or for Jackson Dart, who's been the third name invoked. This to me is a one quarterback class. The only quarterback I would be comfortable taking in the first round is Cam Ward. I've loved him since he transferred to Washington State. I have been a fan of his for a long time. I think he's deserving of the QB1 moniker. I think Tennessee would be making an excellent decision taking him number 1 overall. He's the only guy that I think is a first-round grade quarterback in this class. But that's not how quarterbacks go on draft night. So you have to figure out where these pieces are going to fall, and it does impact the Cardinals at 16. This is the first time where they're not really in control of the board. They were in control of the board last year at 4. They were in control. What they did was going to dictate the rest. Malik Neighbors doesn't get to the Giants if the Cardinals take Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. But they made a decision that Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be their target, their pick. If they took a offensive lineman or a defensive player, maybe the Giants don't take Malik Neighbors. You just don't know how these things are going to shake out on draft night. The Cardinals are at the mercy of all of the teams in front of them. The Cardinals are at the mercy of the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants. That's where this draft, I thought the draft started at 5. The draft now starts at 2 because I don't know what Cleveland's going to do. My thought this whole time was that they were the Shedeur Sanders landing spot, but the winds are blowing in a totally different direction.
And keep in mind, I think if a quarterback falls to 16, what's the likelihood or the possibility that a team like Cleveland, who picks at 33, moves back in for a quarterback? Whether it's Dart or Sanders if they get to 16, if they get to 21. And let's say the Cardinals trade back to 21 with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh moves up. Then the Cleveland doesn't think Dart's going to get to him. They move back in. You could still be in a possibility where 3 quarterbacks go before you. But this morning, that outlook looks very much more bleak than it did on Friday.
Teams that pick early on day 2 that may be interested if they pass on a quarterback inside the top 10 may want to move back in to get their guy. Cleveland picks 33. The Giants pick 34. The Raiders pick 37. The Saints pick at 40. The Jets pick at 42. Those are teams that I think are quarterback needy and also pick high enough up in the order of the second round to where they could move back in if they don't take a guy in the first round. But trying to figure out what happens at 16, your guess is as good as mine right now.